be a sponge, and then bring the juice.
By focusing on your improvement, by focusing on your progress, and eliminating any fixed mindset that you may have and acts of perfectionism, then you encourage your own mastery.
On some level, we do what we want to do 24 hours a day. Now, sometimes it may not seem like that, but if I'm choosing to work instead of sleep, what I'm actually saying is keeping my job is more important than sleeping.
I'm tired of this. I'm tired of getting beat. What can I do to get over this hump? So mentally, that's when I kind of put that forefront, like, hey, it's either all or nothing.
I like to put failure in quotations because I don't believe that failure is true failure if you're looking at it with the right mindset.
The truth is, the journey to greatness is hard. It takes time, it takes effort, it takes focus, and every day you have to decide what you value, what you want to pursue, and what you want to achieve. And if you dig deep enough, if you push hard enough, we all have what it takes to be great. Welcome to the Edge of Greatness. Hello and welcome back to another episode of the Edge of Greatness podcast. I'm your host, Charles Schultz, and today I want to start with a little housekeeping, I guess we could call it. I have been thrust into some new situations, I guess is the best way to describe it. So for those of you who have been following along the whole time, you obviously know that I moved. You know that things have been evolving towards a new direction. One of those things was to attempt to try to step into growing this in a little different kind of way. Since moving, things have changed in a different way again. So as a result, I have been staying home with my kids, which has been incredibly awesome, spending more time with them. Obviously, that's the reason for the move, but it fit now to be stay at home, work with the kids, do the work that I'm doing on the side, and save some money. Unfortunately, that does not leave a whole lot of time for the interviews that I love to do, and I have been trying to use to grow this show for the entirety of its existence. However, in an attempt to keep the habit alive, I'm going to continue to do solo episodes like the ones I've done the last few weeks. I feel like that's something that is important to keep myself sharp, to stay in front of the mic, to continue to communicate with you guys. But because that is the direction that I'm going to try to go, I'm curious for feedback. One, should I record more episodes since they're going to be shorter and it's just going to be solo episodes? Two, what are things that are sticking points in your life? What are you struggling with? What are some of the things that are causing you to sit up at night and think and giving you all kinds of headaches? Maybe I can give you some insight. But I can only do that if you communicate with me, if you share a little bit of your story. So before next week's episode, I would love it if you would send me a DM on Twitter, shoot me an email at charles@theedgeofgreatnessproject.com, or any other way that you feel you want to communicate with me. I don't necessarily care at this point. Just connect. The biggest thing I can say is that the more that people connect and tell me what's going on, the easier it is for me to talk about some of the things that I believe are important to help you continue on the path that you're on. But as for today, one of the things that I've been really digging into this week is the avoidance of perfectionism. I used to have a real struggle with this. In high school, as a baseball athlete, I was the kid who was 4 for 5 and upset about the fifth at bat that I hit a line drive and the shortstop made a catch on. I should have been 5 for 5, obviously. And it was something that I thought was thought it was a benefit. I thought it was a positive. I thought it was me being critical to a point where I know I'm going to improve. I can do anything. I'm unstoppable. But ultimately, it just made the game less fun at times. It made my growth less fun at times because nothing was ever really good enough. I could always do better. And this is the fine line. This is that place we want to live is, yes, we want to chase consistent and constant improvement, but perfection isn't the goal. It's impossible to be perfect. Perfect doesn't exist. It's not a real target. And when you become somebody who's obsessed with perfection, everything becomes impossible. And I don't like the word impossible. If you're able to watch this show or this episode today, you're seeing that I'm wearing one of my shirts that says I'm possible. But perfection is something that creates impossibilities because it eats at us. It destroys our progress. It is a negative kink in the direction of success. It's a really challenging topic, though, because where's that line come in? Where do we draw the line between I want to be the best I can be and perfection? And so one of the things that I've kind of developed over the years is this mindset of, and again, I made this word up the other day and it kind of was a hit, so I'm going to go with it, an improvanist. Instead of a perfectionist, I'm an improvanist. Now, somebody told me that there's a word Kaizen for that. Yes, you're right. But this is, again, in the art of being imperfect. I'm going to make something up that's not right. So I'm going to go with my improvanist word. But ultimately, what I'm looking for is a willingness to always look to get better. I'm seeking growth, not perfection. And in the end of all of this, what's happened is I've become more willing to fail and learn, where I've always taken failures as growth opportunities in the past, but I also beat myself up for not being perfect. Now, I don't beat myself up anymore. I just work through it. And it's led me down some really awesome paths. You know, when I first started this podcast, I had never been on the mic before. I'd never interviewed anybody. I'd never sat down and hit record. I didn't know any of the features or the buttons or any of the things that I was supposed to be doing. I just said, you know what? We're going to work on it and we're going to figure it out as we go. And here we are, 250 plus episodes later, including the little solo ones that we're doing. And if I go back and listen, there is incredible improvement. And that's what I'm looking for. It's created also a willingness to leap before I'm ready. As somebody who wants to be good at things, it was always hard for me to step into something that I may not be good at. That perfectionist mindset would stop me from taking risks, because if I'm not the best that's going to be presenting, or I'm not the best that's on the field, or if I'm not the best that's doing the thing, then it's not worth doing. And that's such a backwards way of doing it, because you only become the best by doing the thing. You have to be willing to step into not being great, learning, growing, and competing to get better over time. And this new approach has helped me in many ways. I've launched businesses. I moved my family. I started the podcast. I wrote a book. I hit publish on that. And I did that even though my mind says this isn't ready, even though my mind said that this isn't perfect. Because at the end of the day, I can try to perfect myself to death, or I can keep pushing, yes, let's do this, go forward, take a step. This is good enough for now. Let's go forward, take a step. And I think it's one of the main reasons why I continue to write books is I'm happy I hit publish. I'm happy I put it out there. I'm happy that it's available for people. I think it's good work. But I think the stuff I'm working on today is better work. And I think that eventually the stuff I'm working on tomorrow will be even better than that. And that's all I care about anymore, is not being the best, not being perfect, not striving for never doing it wrong, but instead, is the work I'm doing today better than the work I did yesterday? Am I moving in the direction that I need to continuously improve? And we can go down a deeper rabbit hole here and we can go a little bit further, but I'm not going to do that today just because I don't want to get too off course. But the hard part about moving forward and being a person who's looking for improvement is understanding how growth works, understanding how improvement works. Okay? So there's going to be a dip at some point. I'm going to go up. I'm going to improve probably pretty quickly at first if it's something that's new. But then you're going to hit a plateau. You're going to hit a spot where this path is blocked. We're going to have to figure out a different way. It's time to go back down the hill a little bit, look for a better path. And in that moment, you're still improving because you're adjusting. And I think that that's an important thing to clarify before we get off today's episode, is that improvement isn't always up the mountain, but it is always towards a new result that you're looking for. And sometimes that new result requires you to take a unique and different path. So there's the fine line. That's the nuance in all of this, is if I'm going backwards, am I still improving? Am I still moving toward the thing I want? So connect to that North Star, connect to that compass, that why, that thing that you're chasing, and trust that this process is the one that's necessary. Keep taking steps, get better tomorrow, become an improvanist. And as always, keep reaching for the stars. Fall flat on your face, but remember, whenever we fall, always get up. Thank you for joining us today on the Edge of Greatness podcast. If you haven't yet, please take a minute now to subscribe and review our show. Join us again next week as we continue to dig deeper into the key components of greatness. The path to greatness is never linear, so remember to keep pursuing greatness no matter what. Keep stretching your abilities, reach for the stars, and fall flat on your face. But remember, no matter what happens, whenever we fall, always get up. Until next time, I'm Charles Schultz, and this was the Edge of Greatness podcast.